Good evening and welcome to Poe Discussions with Carmen and Jeanie. I am Carmen Bolden.
And I am Jeanie Smith.
And
we are the
Poe-tastic
two. Okay, this lagging thing is just, come on. All right.
Yes, and
they know who
when we're in the same room, it's much better.
Yeah, it is.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So tonight we have not just one special guest, we have two. We have Dwight and Rebecca McPherson, and we would love for them to tell us a little bit about themselves.
Sure. Okay. I'm Dwight, and this is my wife, Rebecca. Of course, she's got an awesome story to tell.
Yay!
I've been writing my whole life, really, ever since I can remember. I wanted to draw at first, and I actually was going to go to Ringling Art School in Sarasota, and I realized that I didn't have the patience to actually draw, so I decided I would write instead, and then that way I could get all these crazy thoughts out of my mind. It was, much faster. Let me see. My first book was published in 2005.
Okay.
It's called Dead Men Tell No Tales. And I went through a traditional publisher for that. Let me see. I'm from Michigan. Go Blue. Very proud of that. We currently live in Florida. I was in the Army for 14 years as a combat medic. I was medically separated. I was injured on training exercise. And we have 3 sons. And one of them is serving in the Air Force. One of them works for the Department of Energy. And one of them lives with his brother. He's special needs. So
okay.
He was one of the inspirations for us actually doing comics.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome.
Reader. We got him to read by doing graphic novels.
Yes.
So
that's wonderful.
Well, I wanted him to read, but he wouldn't read any like age appropriate books. So I was like, how can I get him to read? I know what worked for me was comic books.
Yeah.
And I put comic books in front of him, and he read every single comic that I would give him. And we had a list of 40 books that all of our kids had to read before they left home.
Classics, yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
He finished all 40.
He did. Every one of us
finished all 40. All 3 of them made it through all 40 books.
Yes.
So
that is so cool. Yeah.
Because once they're out of the house, you never know what happens. So I thought, well, they would have read it once. Okay.
Yes.
They at least got an introduction to it before they left home. So that was good.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
That's actually the Dead Men Tell No Tales. That's kind of a good segue.
Oh, well, I was stationed in South Korea in the Army, and everybody told me, Sergeant Mac, you're gonna get demoted, you're gonna get in trouble in South Korea. And I said, no, I will not. So I decided, what am I going to do to keep myself busy? I don't know where in the world it came from, but I decided I was going to write a book about pirates.
Ooh,
so
nice.
I'm sitting in up by the DMZ, and I'm writing, researching and writing a book about pirates. And it's wild because I said that they buried the holy treasure on Oak Island. And if you go watching The Curse of Oak Island, they're finally arriving at the fact that the Templars were involved. And I said that in 2005. So.
Oh, that's cool.
You told them, but they didn't listen. Just saying.
I didn't get in trouble, by the way, but I did.
That's good.
And I came back to the United States and got my first book published. So after rejections, which, hey, if you're a writer, you're going to get more rejections than congratulatory.
Yeah.
And that
particular, but you never give up. That's the thing. That's what everybody needs to know is you never give up, because what one says no, you don't know what like the 4th or the 5th one down the road might say yes.
And listen to this: if that book had not been published, we would not be together.
Right. That's a good segue because and that book before they got it published, but I was in Los Angeles working in theater and TV production.
Okay.
And one of my jobs outside of that, I did a lot of extra work on PR. And I was doing a couple of Lord of the Ring actors as they were going through their Oscar party stuff. I was kind of leading them there. So they got me to the comic book scene and Comic-Con. The Hobbits. So I went to a comic convention, found out what all that was about. And then one day I was actually working at Meltdown Comics and I bought his comic, Dead Men Tell No Tales.
Okay.
If we hadn't written that, we would never have met. So
That is such a cool story.
It is.
Yes.
It really was amazing how so much trouble went to get that book made and how it had to be made because then it would have got us together.
We called it the first book because we went through like 4 artists and we missed all kinds of deadlines, and we just everything that could go wrong did go wrong.
Okay.
But we did complete it. I mean, thank God.
Yeah.
We completed it, and it was published, and we met each other. We've been married 15 years, so
that's wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was born in New York and I was raised in Los Angeles, so I grew up bi-coastal.
Okay. Oh, nice. Very cool.
You're transcontinental. There we go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Best of both cities, let me tell you.
Yeah. Our life experiences are pretty
exciting.
Yeah.
Then definitely would do it. Going from California to New York.
Yeah, it was a really good way to grow up because you just had that. They're so different. The cities are so different, but it's a lot of fun. I'm glad I was able to see a lot of the states that way.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and then now you said you're in Florida, and so
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sweltering in Florida.
I grew up in Florida, so like coming home. Even though the home that I remember the most was in Clearwater. We went back and there's grass there. I mean, that's
wow.
I know that was I was pretty devastated about that, you know.
Yeah. Oh, that those kinds of things do make you just, it's so bittersweet.
It really is. It's because you have so many memories inside of a building that has made you like the house that built me. And then it's not there. So that's so.
Oh, I know. It sounds like a Poe tale.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely.
Tragic Poe tale. There you go. It's all about Poe. Yeah.
Yes. And we had met so many amazing people thanks to Poe. It's just
yourselves included.
Yes,
our current, company included.
Yes, he has brought together. He still continues to bring people together.
He does.
All these centuries.
Oh yeah. We totally agree. Jeanie has not gotten to go to the Poe Fest. I've been every single year since the beginning, even the year during COVID when it was virtual. You know,
we won.
Yes.
We couldn't even go.
Yeah. Oh, and that stinks so bad.
I know. It was so.
It was funny because we recorded an acceptance speech
just in case
the day before.
Okay.
And we're like, but we're going to live stream you in so you can be. It did not work. Yeah. So you got our recorded.
And we wanted so bad for it to be live.
We were sitting there like, so.
Well,
technology.
That for us was a full circle moment because Edgar Allan Poe himself won that award so many years back.
Exactly.
To win that award, that same award that he did as a self-publisher.
Yes.
It's what. We do have a Frenchie.
We have a Frenchie who is a Frenchie.
Oh, it's all
good.
We always welcome pets. Occasionally, one of my cats will come up and normally it's when I'm. Yeah, this is normal when I'm sitting in a different chair. He'll come in the back, but tonight he won't be.
Yes, hopefully he will not come into the picture. I think.
And if he does, he come on, just join in.
We'll welcome him as another guest.
Attention. There's our.
Oh, he's adorable.
So cute. Now, what's his name?
Pip.
You can tell him the full name.
Copperpot McPherson Esquire.
Oh, very cute. Very cute.
We could not name Skippy or something. No.
We're big Dickens fans as well.
And everybody has great expectations. So
yes.
Okay.
So Pip and Copperpot, can you know where that's from?
Let's see. Copperpot is
Chester Copperpot. That's your
Chester Copperpot.
Which one is it? It's not
Goonies.
Goonies.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, wait a minute, because I'm going through all my classics here, but I'm like, wait a minute, Copperpot. That was a pirate.
Right?
Chester Copperpot.
Yes.
So.
That's One-Eyed Willie, and
So he has quite the titled name, but
well, Dickens and Poe were good friends. Well, the equivalent of good friends because they, lived so far away from each other, but they did hang a few times.
Yeah, they got to meet in Philadelphia when Dickens came over and did one of his tours, and then he actually tried to help Poe get published over in England and like Europe, and so yeah. So I think that's a really cool connection. It really is.
Absolutely. Yes, it's a great connection. It's actually a book recommendation, The Last Dickens by Matthew Pearl.
Oh, okay.
It tells the story about the lost papers of Dickens. Yes.
I am going to write that down.
Yes.
You need to. And he also wrote a book called The Poe Shadow.
We got to read that too.
I have it, and I just haven't read it yet.
That's Matthew Pearl. And we've met Matthew Pearl because of that as well, because of his Poe.
I mean,
that is cool.
Yeah. He actually wrote, what did he write for us? He wrote a forward to something.
He wrote a blurb on one.
Oh, a blurb. That's right.
Okay. A great writer. He's a really amazing writer.
He's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's I have so many books. I need like 5 lifetimes to probably finish. But well, tell us about all of like some of your creations. You know, I know like we have the 3 books you've done on Poe, and then I saw that you had the prequel as well.
Yes.
So just y'all want to talk a little bit about that, because I did receive. I ordered.
Oh, you
yes, I did get it. Yes, I got it.
I was so worried about. Oh gosh.
Yeah, I've started reading it. I just haven't finished it yet, but I'm really enjoying it so far. It is awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Well, The Imaginary Voyages of Edgar Allan Poe. That's our flagship title, and I wrote the book in, I guess, 2006, the first one.
Okay.
It was published in 2007 by Image Comics.
Okay.
Fast forward all this time later, and we decided to self-publish, and we actually released all 3 books through our self-publishing company, Hocus Pocus Comics. But The Imaginary Voyages of Edgar Allan Poe takes place in 1848. And he's just released Eureka, and it bombed. His Virginia died. I mean, he is in a dark place, and he goes inside of his head during this time. He just kind of spirals into his own head, and he wakes up, if you will, in this magical land where mythology is real, and he's running for his life. Everybody's trying. He's public enemy number 1. And he has a guide named Irving Rath, who is helping him along on his journey. And Irving, of course, is named for Washington Irving, because
I had a feeling. Yeah.
Yes.
Little Easter eggs about all of our stories.
There are
writers.
Okay.
You know, as you continue reading, you're going to find, you know, one thing that I did that I really enjoyed was I took one of his poems and I actually made a found poem out of it. I changed it around a little bit. And it came out, I think it came out really nicely.
It's our love letter. Those books are our love letters to Poe. It's to thank him, for what he continues to do to this day.
Absolutely. But you know, since he went inside his own head, what was he reading? What was he watching during that time? He was big into mythology. I mean, that was a huge thing to him. So we included that as well. So that gave me a chance to kind of pluck from C.S. Lewis and pluck from J.R.R. Tolkien as well, and which are, you know, 2 of my other favorites. So it's really a tapestry, I guess you would say, of all the influences, literary influences that I've had in my life.
Okay.
So you never know who's writing. You might run into something from the Iliad or. Okay, yeah, I'm giving away too much. Okay.
Oh.
Don't give away too much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no spoilers. No spoilers.
Another book that we have is called Elevator.
Okay.
That was our take on Dante's Inferno. We brought it to the 21st century.
Nice.
Trying to reconcile the decisions that their father made for them.
Okay.
So that's kind of an overall.
So it's really, the gist of it is, you don't have to do what's been laid out before you. Nobody can make your decisions for you. You don't have to, like one of our good friends, Jeff Mudgett. He's the great grandson of H.H. Holmes.
Okay.
And so he wrestles with that. So people would say if he became a serial killer, well, it makes sense, right? Because of his ancestor.
Yeah.
You don't have to choose that. You choose your own path. You make your own decisions. You pay the consequences for your own actions. So really, that's what that is about. And,
Okay.
And to after that, we since we H.H. Holmes and that whole connection, we actually had Jeff do the forward for Elevator.
Oh, cool.
Yes. Very nice.
On having that in your ancestry.
If you've seen American Ripper.
Yeah. He really loved. He had never read a comic before.
No,
so that was his first comic.
Oh wow!
I know we didn't know that at the time, but he was floored with it.
If you've seen American Ripper on History Channel, that's Jeff.
That's Jeff.
Okay.
It was him and a former CIA agent that were investigating the connections between H.H. Holmes and Jack the Ripper.
Yes.
Yep.
So great show, amazing.
Yeah.
And the ending it's another mystery. Okay, spoiler, I know.
It's okay. It's okay.
What did he say? What did Jack Black say? No.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. R.L. Stein, right? There's the beginning, the middle, and a twist.
Yes.
But your book, Elevator, the way you're describing it and stuff, reminds me so much of when I was doing my criminology degree, that we always had the discussion. That was one of the discussions in every class, was the nature versus nurture. Was a criminal born a criminal, or was it their environment that made them the criminal?
Yeah.
So it was always, that was all the discussion. Genetics, now we have DNA come into play, which plays a bigger part about, do we have a gene inside of us that can be activated that turns us into that type of person? So the nature versus nurture. So that story just sounds phenomenal. And I mean, because number one, I love Dante's Inferno. The nine rings of hell have always, when I taught literature in high school, my big things that I loved to teach was Gilgamesh, Beowulf, and Dante's Inferno. Those were my three main that I just, it just was phenomenal, because they hit upon those archetypes. They hit upon the heroes, the good versus evil, but it also plays so much of psychology.
Yes.
When you think about it and you look at it and you read it, and this leads into one of the things that I've always loved about Poe. Poe has that psychological, which we discuss in our Poe Unplugged a lot. He has that psychological, he has that psychological pull in his stories that I love to tease about, how half the time I read them and reread them because I can't figure out who I want to, root for in this one. Because
especially Fortunato versus Montresor.
According to my feelings of the day, it's like, which one do I want to vote for? Yeah, he deserved it. The other guy's like, really, dude, come on, you can, Montresor, you're an idiot, but okay. But that's one of the things about Poe. And you said that you came up with the idea of putting the setting in 1848 because that was one of his, that was the year before he died, but also it was when he was reaching that pinnacle of crap in his life, and stuff. So that's that. I love how you pull in also about the way he chose like mythology, and he had the different animals and stuff like that, because Never Bet the Devil Your Head is one that pops into my, that was like, ooh, I love that one. And
well, and Poe has so many allusions to mythology, himself. And so, that whole tie-in, I mean, I love that, how you've adapted Poe into that. That's really cool.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Yeah.
It's funny. I was talking with Chris Sentner, and we were talking about that. He said, what makes us so amazing is that Poe would never write that. But someone who knew him deeply could write something like this. And
yes,
I feel kind of connected to him. I know that when we went to the Poe cottage in the Bronx,
yeah.
I mean, it's like he just left,
I agree. Yes.
Like he let Katarina go outside, and he's out there with her.
Yeah. We stood there looking and just thinking that, oh my gosh, she walked on this floor.
Yeah. The thing that got me when I went was walking in and seeing Virginia's deathbed.
Yes.
That just like I stood there for a few minutes, and my husband was with me, and he was looking around at some stuff, and I stood there for several minutes, and I was just like, this is one of the most surreal things that it gave me chills. It really did.
I think our whole group got really silent. We went to that room.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's funny because when you see the actual room where she died, and then you see like in some of our stories where we see her on a deathbed, it's a big room.
Yeah.
And in reality, can you imagine carrying her up the stairs every night to put her in bed?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like this. I'm walking through there. Well, I'm a big guy anyways. So, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get there.
But
that was a real special experience.
It was.
Yeah.
We were at New York Comic Con, and I said, I really want to go to the Poe cottage because that's where the story takes place. Well,
yes,
the beginning of the story.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had to go there.
And I didn't realize there was a Poe cottage there. And I said, you want to go to the Bronx? I'm like, well, okay, let's do it. But
yeah.
Wow.
It's really neat. And one of the other things that my husband and I didn't get to do on that trip that we just actually went back to New York earlier this year, was the High Bridge. There's I can't remember who the artist is, that there's that one picture of Poe going walking. Yeah, he's got his cloak, and we walked across the High Bridge, and
that's awesome.
I've got I do one of the little things that Jeannie and I both have our own little individual thing that we do tied to the podcast. Mine's On the Road with Carmen, and so I try to find Poe connections everywhere. But I've got a video of I started at the one point and then filmed all the way down, and I'll add in things to it as I'm
cool.
The
whole version of Abbey Road.
Yeah. And so if you didn't get to do that, it's just neat. It's just really neat. So when you go back, go to the High Bridge.
Well, one thing we haven't done, which I don't know why, but we haven't gone to Poe's grave. So that's I know we have to make it out there, and we will. That'll be a hard thing to do, but
it's
okay. I haven't been either, so don't worry.
Okay,
I haven't made it there either.
Yeah, you will. We're gonna get you there.
Yeah, eventually.
Yes,
we have to get there. I know. Oh, our other book is Houdini's Silver Dollar Misfits. Let me talk about that.
Yes, Houdini's Silver. To me, Harry Houdini epitomized the American dream. I mean, his family came here. They were legal immigrants, and they came here, and he became a household name just because he was such a master of public relations and from nothing to being a household name, being in movies, he was all over the place. Everybody knew who Houdini was, and they still do pretty much to a large extent. But I wanted to connect Houdini to the present day. And so I wrote a mystery. We have a child that's left at an orphanage, and there's something different about this child. And I don't want to give away too much, but
what I can summarize it is the sum of that book is what does it mean to be human?
Oh, yes.
And what makes you a good friend?
Yes. Okay.
That's the nature of family. What makes a family?
Right.
Yeah.
So I always used more than one theme, obviously.
Oh, absolutely. But that's such a great message, especially if kids are reading it.
Absolutely.
That is wonderful.
It is.
Right. And we made it in, anime or, manga style art. In covers. So, because I know, even our kids, they're huge into One Piece and a lot of the other manga. So, and I love it too, honestly. So Death Note, things like that.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So we decided to go ahead and do that, and
black and white.
all the feedback that we've gotten has been wonderful.
And that's the same thing with Elevator. We left Elevator in black and white because we wanted to imagine hell being the absence of color. What if it was just black and white? And
well,
gray?
what is dark?
What is darkness?
Yeah,
it's the absence of light.
Right.
And that's what darkness is.
So that book's in black and white as well.
That's cool. That's really cool.
So it's very stark. Hell is very, very stark.
Right to them. Yeah. They're not having a good time.
They are not having a good time.
Yeah. If they were, then everybody would want to go. I mean,
exactly,
come on.
right. Yeah, you're right.
Exactly.
But the one thing I do love is when I was looking at your different offerings, because I actually went on to Amazon to check out the Harry Houdini one. Just I wanted a little bit of a visual, and because I had read in your bio about how was it a Texas professor?
Texas Tech.
Yeah. Yes. That kind of wanted to add that into their curriculum type of thing.
Yes.
So, and being a retired teacher, and since Carmen's still teaching,
yes, I'm still teaching. I've got about 10 more years.
Thank you. You're our superheroes.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. We love teachers.
That's a
thank
call.
you.
We love teachers. Very hard job.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
I loved it, and I'm sad that I had to get out of it, but it's just the way life goes. Sometimes you have to choose what you can and do what you can. But one of the things that I loved about it is you were talking earlier about how you had to struggle with one of your sons, getting him to read and everything. And that's one of the things, being a, English and reading teacher and a writing teacher like I was. And history, I taught all subjects, but anyway,
she did. So she taught the big four.
Yeah, I taught the big four. So,
the
4 R's. That's right. Reading, writing, and arithmetic. But okay.
Yeah.
Lordy.
So, yeah, but one of the things that I found was using these graphic novels, the manga, and all this other kind to kind of pique the interest, to get them started on something, then move them into something else. Because that's one of the things that can turn someone off quick enough, is if they just feel like, I hate to say it, especially with kids, if they just feel too stupid. If they feel like they're too stupid, or they're going to get made fun of because they can't get something like other people do. So, but these types of graphic novels and those things, they kind of fell in love with it because it hit some senses. It wasn't just words, it was pictures, it was all this kind of stuff.
Well, so I like to say it's the marriage of art and literature.
Exactly.
I agree.
It's the perfect combination. I mean,
absolutely.
It's like when I was growing up, I was telling Carmen about this a few days ago. My mom would buy me these books that had records with them, the little 33 records and the 45s.
Turn the page.
And and they would play different music to go along with the reading. And I mean, and I loved that because it hit my senses. It wasn't just art of visual, but it was hitting the rhythmic and that kind of stuff. So that's one of the things about the story of Edgar Allan Poe, putting it in this type of, I guess, format, medium. Is it's going to reach a larger audience of a younger age. And we have to teach, Poe in middle school. We start middle school with Raven and Annabelle Lee and stuff. But, as well as I do, sometimes it's like, if you're told to do something, you don't want to do it.
Right.
So it's like, whatever. But we were talking how some of the influences of Poe showed up on some, SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yes.
The
Simpsons. And
those things I've not watched, and I'm probably gonna get, don't hate me for it, people, but I've never watched Simpsons or SpongeBob in my life. And I probably never will. So.
I know. I just haven't.
The cool thing is that academia finally realizes this. The graphic novels are a great gateway drug to literature.
Yes,
and, especially for your readers who are challenged or
struggling.
Yeah, they're struggling. They don't want to read. And like I said, it worked for our sons. So I've seen
Yeah.
firsthand that they were quite effective. And that's wonderful to know that your books are in universities being used.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, libraries. And the cool thing about it is it's not just for kids because there's deeper meaning in it. Like,
Absolutely.
like the Chronicles of Narnia, for example. When you
Mhm.
read it as a kid, you get one thing out of it, you know, and you're like, wow, this is awesome. But when
Yeah.
you're older and you go back and read the Chronicles of Narnia, you see all kinds of things that you never even thought about in the stories. So
I agree. You can
they
dig
were with you.
deeper. Yeah, because of life experience and
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And that's what I want to do with all my books. They're for all readers of all ages, 9
and
to 109.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
that's awesome.
And it's so much like what we say, especially in Poe Unplugged, when we're talking about Poe and all this kind of stuff. We always say that no matter what parts of our life we're reading, they can be different. It's like when you read Annabelle Lee or Raven when you are in your preteens or early, and then you read it again 20 years later, it's got a whole different meaning.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because you see something more, because you're connecting because of life experiences.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons Poe is such, in my opinion, such a phenomenal connection to culture, is because he can adapt to everything that happens in your life. I mean, there's not one thing I can think of that there's not something that would touch upon you from his works. Like he talks about death, especially about, reaching for dreams like an El Dorado, searching for your fortune, never bet the devil your head, having to face adversity, the totally out there oddity of some of the stuff. But
like I agree with Jeannie. He is timeless. Absolutely.
Oh, yes. I mean,
well, see, I didn't understand the Telltale Heart really until I had made my first kill. And no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I
know. Oh Lord.
Those are allegations.
Yeah, that's all right. I understand.
Well, we were just talking the other day about it. I mean, he's so influential. You have like the Netflix show Wednesday where they're at the Poe Academy. She goes to the Poe Academy.
Yeah.
The Pale Blue Eye.
Pale Blue
Yes.
Eye.
Was a fantastic movie. I love that movie.
The book is even better if you haven't read
it. Always
the book.
is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
It always is. But he's still, I mean, Poe is always still there.
Yeah.
Culture.
And he will be.
He will be. Yeah, absolutely.
I totally agree, because I know, like, I teach freshman English, and so my students have usually read The Raven. It depends on like what, like if they're like taking general English or if they're taking advanced honors. Most of them, if they've taken advanced honors, they've read more Poe because their teachers have given them more. But Telltale Heart's one that they've read usually by high school. Cask of Amontillado sometimes. It just depends. And so I get to do Annabelle Lee with them, tied to, it's like a star-crossed lovers unit with Romeo and Juliet. And so we really dig in and make some comparisons there. And they love Poe. They can't get enough of him. And so I always add in other things because, I can't help myself.
I love that.
Generation after generation of discovery.
Yeah.
And Poe, he never was a member of the literati. I mean, he was always an outsider. I can understand that.
He tried, but yeah.
Right. And it's funny because some of the struggles that he goes through, we go through those still, being indie writers,
Well, we're not talking about a lot of the literati of his time. We're talking about him.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Exactly. And so now with the Poe series that you've got, the 3, you did a prequel as well.
I did, and it was available as a webcomic at first.
Oh, nice.
And I decided, why don't I tell a little bit about what happens, before that time.
Yeah.
And so that was fun. It takes place in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And I don't want to give away too much.
Yeah, don't.
It gives you some insight to the conflict that was already going on inside of him. And I don't want to give away too much.
Yeah.
But think about this. Most of Poe's writing was not horror. I mean,
right.
He wrote everything. He wrote, everything from nonfiction to furniture. To about furniture. Funny stories. He wrote some really great satire.
Yeah.
I mean, he wrote all kinds of as well as
reviews.
Reviews.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which are pretty.
Yes.
So
yeah, he definitely loved his satirical.
Yes.
His satirical writing, because in the dark humor, he loved his dark humor.
Yes.
And and he was the father of the detective, which not a lot of people ever know that. And it's like, no, it wasn't Sherlock Holmes. This was pre-Sherlock Holmes, people.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Yes.
So it's very unusual to, well, nowadays it is for me, to find somebody that doesn't know Edgar Allan Poe's name.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
There's a lot of people that misspell his
absolutely
second name, and I'm just like,
yeah,
don't put an E in it. Don't put an E in it. Okay.
Yeah, I've had we have a large used bookstore here that I absolutely adore, and I have a battle going with them that they have two sections. One has the A, one has the E, and somebody wouldn't help me one day, like, it's supposed to be A. Why are you, and it's a long story, but needless to say, I changed it myself. And so every time I go back in, I check on it and then report it if it's wrong again.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's fun.
Be very thankful.
He would be thankful for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because most of the time he never actually spelled out the Allen. He just used the initial.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because of who Allen was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. E-A-P-O.
Yeah.
That's how we know him.
Yeah. Well, and speak of just kind of talking about, like, we mentioned about like our teaching and things like that. So where did you guys first like come upon Poe? Was it in school? Was it later in life? We always ask this question because it's very interesting to hear from people.
Well, first.
Well, what's funny for me, I mean, really, my dad and I, every Friday night, we'd watch Creature Feature.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
This will really date myself, okay? But
you're
Roger
in the
Corman,
same world as us, so don't worry.
Yes, we're
Roger
right there
Corman,
with you.
who just passed away, may he rest in peace.
Yeah, exactly.
His post-cycle movies were what really, like watching Fall of the House of Usher. I was like, this Edgar Allan Poe guy is weird. Awesome. I love it, So really, that was my first introduction, and I remember going to school after that and checking out a book and actually reading The Raven and some of his other poems. And so, that's, putting the name with being scared to death.
Yeah.
It just stuck with me. So,
I first read him. I used to go to my grandmother's apartment in Manhattan over the summers, and she had all of those books in there. So I first read him probably when I was about 8.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He had a lot of his stuff in there. So The Fall of the House of Usher was actually the first thing I read.
Okay.
Yes,
I was like 5. My dad got in so much trouble for letting me watch that stuff. Why are you letting him watch this stuff?
Oh my goodness.
Had bad dreams for,
Yeah, because many people start out with The Raven is a lot of the answers we get. So when we do hear like Fall of the House of Usher, that's really cool, just because
I was drawn to that whole. And I always love the idea of a house being a character in a story.
Yes.
And he did it first.
That movie got to me when he opens a coffin and there's fingernails and scratches.
Yes.
I mean, I was just like,
Yeah, and that the Corman films, that's probably one of my favorits. I love
absolutely.
That one.
Right.
Yeah, Vincent Price is so amazing in that. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, Vincent Price. Oh my gosh. House of Blood. Too many 70s movies.
And that's probably my favorite Poe story as well. Because I know I've always considered Poe a poet before, a regular literary figure. Because he definitely had a poet's soul. His poetry was so immaculate. And I love the Haunted Palace. That's my favorite poem because it's
great.
It's so perfect. I mean, it's right up there with Shakespeare, in my opinion. But it's perfect in rhyme and meter and composition, and it just. Oh, I love it. But anyways,
I know.
And it fits so well within the story. You know, it can stand alone on its own and have its own kind of hook to you just reading it by itself. But if you stick it within the Fall of the House of Usher, it adds even more of a tie and makes that story just better.
Well, and it makes it just adds that layer of irony with the story within a story, and it's kind of the same. It's just
that's my book. It's all that we see or seem, but a dream within a dream.
Exactly.
Yes, that's kind of our, the slogan. It's on all the books. So
that's nice.
And also that house being a character that also goes through our elevator, because the house in that particular story is actually a character as well.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yes. I love that. I don't know if you saw The Haunting of Hill House.
I just finished that about a month ago, and it's one of those things I try to watch things as they come out. Sometimes I'm working on something else, so I have to wait, and I finally finished it. That was excellent.
It's the worst adaptation of all time.
Yes.
You read the book? But wow, what an incredible
what an interpretation of it.
Oh my God. That house.
That house was a character.
Yes.
That was the most effective use of a house as a character that I've ever seen in a movie.
Absolutely.
Really I agree.
Shirley Jackson.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's what you hit upon the most for me, for Poe, is that word right there is interpretation. Because Poe leaves his stories, and we've talked about this also, that sometimes there's no beginning, there's no end. He just jumps right in. And so he leaves it to interpretation of the reader, the audience member, whomever it may be. Like if you're reading out loud, whoever's listening, they're interpreting it with their own. Like I was talking about earlier, when you read it in one point of your life and then you have something happen in your life and you read it again, it's got a whole different meaning.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that people have, especially, Mr. Corman, took upon himself was to interpret it, and then adding in the most perfect person of Vincent Price and his interpretation, because his voice, I mean, it just everything.
Yep.
It just is.
Oh, he could have done that. That's amazing.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I think of Pit and the Pendulum when I think about being thrown into a story and trying to figure out what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
It's so rewarding to finally get to the end and go, oh my gosh, he's been in this, I mean, it's, so I love that. And you can do that to some degree in comics, because and film, because you always have flashback sequences.
Right.
So in literature,
and you can leave it
harder.
Because literature, they want you to have the beginning, the middle, the end, that type of thing.
The twist.
Exactly. One of the things you mentioned, Pit and Pendulum, and the one thing I love when I'm reading it is, like, when I first read it, because I love history so much and I love reading and everything, the Spanish Inquisition, and thinking of the French and the Spanish and that time period, and it just is like the psychological torture was more. And I think Poe really brought it out more than anything else in history, because, people think about the guillotine, they think about, being drawn and quartered, and you hear all that, and academically what that means. But to actually know what a person would have to feel or go through when put into those positions, it's a special talent that someone can make you feel it and relive it while you're reading it, even though it's not factual as an actual happening, but it is based on factual instances.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that Poe called to me in that way.
Right.
And
that's something that Lovecraft tried to capture, was that mood, that the sense of dread. And there were so many. Poe has so many fans.
I know.
One of my favorite artists is Salvador Dali, and he visited he lived there for a while, but he visited the Poe Museum. And what's funny is he didn't sign the guest book. I was talking to Chris Sempner, the curator of the Poe Museum, for those that don't know, about this, and he said, you know what? He didn't sign the guest book. If he had signed it, I could have sold it for, we could have sold it for so much money, right? But people you would never even think that are Poe fans, they're Poe fans. Or they they like some of his stuff. And it's wonderful. And I know Chris was saying he went to Japan and did a lecture there,
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
Worldwide, he's appreciated, and I love that. It's so sad that it didn't happen in his lifetime.
I know. I just we joke around and say, that Poe was a time traveler just because of things that, especially like Arthur Gordon Pym, we're not going to say anything else, but other things too. And it's just the coincidences of some of the things that he wrote about. And it's like, he had to have time traveled. And it's like, I hope that if he really did, he's come into our world and seen the love that people have for him,
that he's still living, even though he's not, and he's getting the accolades that he should have gotten when he was alive. And now, but and we talked about this, I do believe that the culture of Poe will live on past generations. Because he is so ingrained in not just one thing. He's not just literature. He's not just a poet. He doesn't just do this certain genre. His life, and especially his mystery of his death, humans love mystery.
The greatest mystery.
It's the greatest mystery. It's like Jack the Ripper, Edgar Allan Poe's death,
Poe style.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
If he could have written his own death, this is how he would have written it. He would have created this story of saying, well, did he, was he die of alcohol poisoning? Was he murdered? Was he, tuberculosis? You never know.
I mean, we will never know.
No. And we had Mark Dawidziak on actually a couple times, and he wrote the Mystery of Mysteries, The Death and Life of Edgar Allan Poe. It's a phenomenal biography. And one of the things that he said is, I don't want to know. I want to have that kind of that romantic feeling of the wonder. It's like, it's not meant to be solved. And I was just like, he said it perfectly. Definitely.
That's awesome.
Right.
Yep.
Yes, that's well said.
Yeah. So what do you guys have for coming up for the future, like plans of books and things?
Well, we have a little mini comic that we want to expand into a graphic novel. It's Vampire Squid Boy.
Oh, cool.
About there's a real vampire squid that does exist.
Yep.
So
I was like, okay.
I know.
Well,
it's true.
What's really cool about it is, I mean, it's so ironic, but if you've ever read, if you're a Lovecraft fan, I guess I would have to say, then the coordinates for Rilla, and vampire squids live there. I mean,
I know.
Is that a great setup or what? I mean,
exactly.
You can't make it up.
So it's kind of, I like to say it's H.P. Lovecraft's SpongeBob.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah,
So,
it's for little kids. It is for little kids because it has a little coloring book in the back of it. So it is
fun. Okay.
Yes.
Hey, I like coloring.
There's coloring pages for you.
There is. So we want to expand on that. I think we have. You can talk about.
I've never stuck to one genre. I mean, I've written every genre there is to write. If you look through my Amazon page, I mean, I've written a lot of comics. And I think that's what's fun. I've never wanted to be pigeonholed, and I think that's what Poe would say too. I mean, what? I mean, I'm not only known as a writer of the macabre. I mean, I wrote so much other good stuff. I mean, check out some of this.
That's awesome, because
that's been me. I want to write every genre. I even wrote a kind of a romance comic.
Oh my goodness. Grim?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What is that?
It's not okay. But it's set up like one. It's
American McGee's Grim. I think it started as a game, right? It's a game.
Yes, American McGee is a game designer. He's really well known for American McGee's Alice.
Yes.
Okay.
But we became friends, and I actually turned one of his video games into a comic book.
Right.
Comic.
Oh, very
cool. That covers all the genres in it as well. I actually had one copy of that, but that was really fun because it's just total satire. But yeah, the romance.
Oh, fun.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the one that I enjoyed the most was the Pokemon one that I got to. It's total satire of Pokemon. Gotta kill them all.
Exactly. Come on.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, but
having three sons, they grew up with it.
Yeah.
It's
So. Well, and I love that you do want to write, in so many different genres, because to me, it's like, if you get an idea and it has nothing to do, like if you are a horror writer, let's say, for instance, and you get an idea that is science fiction, that it really has nothing to do with horror, it's like, why would you not write that? It's coming out of your imagination, and it's like that deserves to be on paper. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
I love that.
And I started out writing horror, and I decided that my kids were getting older, and I wanted to do something that they could read.
Yeah.
So that's when I really changed the timbre of my writing and such. But I do have a monster book that's going to be coming out. That's like a tribute to the Corman films and the Hammer films.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So yeah, I can't really talk about that one right now. It's called.
Oh, that's okay.
The Box.
The Box. Oh,
The Box.
The Box.
That puts a lot of mystery, intrigue around the title. I love it.
We love them.
Yeah.
Mystery. It's funny. We started watching the Hardy Boys out. That I remember that, and that captured my imagination too.
Yeah.
Always want to solve a mystery. I love
Same
that
for
idea.
me. Same for me. I have to include. I try to include subterraneous spaces in everything that I write, because I just I'm infatuated with them. There's got to be a secret door. There's got to be tunnels over here that you going through the tunnels, looking through the painting. Scooby-Doo probably started that, but the Hardy Boys, the first episode was called "The Mystery of the Haunted House," and there they had to enter through this coffin. They had to walk downstairs into a coffin, and then this figure in a suit of armor swings his axe over their head, but they have to go through secret doors, and almost all the episodes contained a secret tunnel or secret doors. So I fell in love with that. I mean, it's just, I love it. I'd like to, my favorite movie is The Chamber of Secrets, just because, my favorite Harry Potter.
Yeah,
I love that. Getting into the tunnel and the
big chess game.
I'm the same way. I'm watching Dark Shadows right now. I mean, it's taken me, I started last year. I watch a little bit here and there, and there are lots of secret passages.
Dark
Shadows. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I had to go over to a friend's house to watch that because I couldn't watch it at my yeah. I grew up as a preacher's son, so
gotcha.
I could say it was very limited what I could watch, which is why my dad got such a hard time for letting me watch the movies. Another matter.
It happens. It happens.
I love it.
Yes.
So,
one,
of course, my favorite comics were like eerie and creepy and, you know, all the scary magazines, but I couldn't have any. I had Superman and Batman, which is cool. I like superheroes.
Yeah.
But people need to realize superheroes are just a genre of comic books. Right. They do not encapsulate all comic books. Just like literature, you know, if you read a Hardy Boy book, you don't think that all books are mysteries. You know, not all books are mysteries. Right. Don't limit yourself. And I know that, you know, film has done that, you know, the film industry has done that as well. Everybody's Marvel movies, they're based on comics, some of the coolest shows you've ever seen are based on comics that are what was the one with the deer boy? Sweet Tooth. Yeah. Have you seen Sweet Tooth?
No.
You gotta see that. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Amazing. But that started out as a comic book. So
like some people don't know that the most powerful superhero in the Marvel comic universe is actually Santa Claus. You know, I mean, and that's the thing in the comics. And some of the things that they don't actually touch upon in the movie, you just and yes, you're going to be disappointed.
And that, speaking of Claus, isn't that based on a graphic novel? Speaking of Santa Claus, the movie Klaus. That's based on a graphic novel.
Klaus. It's a wonderful movie, and it's based on a comic book as well. There's so many, you know, the voice and you know, stuff like that. That's based on, you know, the superhero genre. But there's a lot of other stuff out there that's based on other comics that are different genres. What are my books? A lot of fantasy, a lot of mystery, a lot of you know, not anymore. I haven't done science fiction for a while, but I wrote a book that was a lot of fun called The M Theory. That was a science fiction story. Kind of like a multiple dimensions kind of story. And that's my love letter to the Twilight Zone.
Yes.
And which Rod Serling. Genius.
Writing.
Yes. Yeah, I'm very excited.
And the Outer Limits, those kind of stuff.
Yeah, very excited. My husband and I are about to go on vacation in another week, and we're going up through Ohio and then going up to upstate New York, and we're going to Rod Serling's grave in the town he grew up in while we're up there. So it's like a bucket list kind of thing I've been wanting to do. So I'm very excited.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome.
Congratulations. Yes, pictures, lots of pictures.
Oh yes. It'll be that. Well, we can definitely tie Twilight Zone to Poe, and so that might be an on the road segment.
I love it. Whole other
yeah. We could have a whole nother episode on that.
Absolutely.
Yes, we could. That's the greatest show of all time. There's nothing that even comes close to that.
I know it.
They try, but they can't come close to it.
It's so funny though that there aren't enough, I don't want to say smart, but people in Hollywood that can't see what made those Twilight Zone episodes timeless.
Right.
Yeah.
They are addressing the human condition. We can all relate to them.
Yes.
If you're, you know, a human,
you can relate
probably even humanoids. But if you're a human, I mean, you can relate to them, and the human condition is not going to change. It's going to go on the way it is. So when they try to do just like a twist ending on everything, and it's like,
no, that's not it.
You know, you're like, what? You know, and that's
again, that's true. You're right. Like those, if you watch the Twilight Zone as a child. It means so much more when you're adult.
Yes, I totally agree. Yeah.
Yes.
We saw a documentary about how hard it was to make the show, to keep it going. He was fighting the whole time to keep the show going. I mean, you know, and I'm like,
I know.
Really?
I know. But look, I'm still watching that along with great writing, great comedic writing. The timing, it's the writing.
Yes.
Yeah.
We only just write the books, right?
Yeah, I just write I get that. That's like comic writers, like worst thing to hear. Do you just write the books or do you also draw them?
Yeah.
Comic author, you know what I mean?
I know.
No, but I'm kind.
I know he is.
Yeah.
Oh my
goodness. Well, Jeanie, do you have any other questions that we didn't cover?
No, I think we hit upon everything that I wanted to know and we wanted to talk about. I would like to point out that to our listeners that you can find all this on their website, which is HP. Is it hpcomics.com?
Net.
Net.
Yeah. Net.
It's net. Yeah.
Yeah. Couldn't remember if it was a com or a net. So hpcomics.net. You can find a listing. You can find all the different things they've talked about. You can find out more about what's going on. And we just thank you for coming on and joining us. And we've enjoyed talking to you and finding more of our Poe peeps.
Yes.
That's what we keep looking for. We keep looking for more Poe peeps.
Yes.
Well, thank you for having us. We really enjoyed this.
This talk has been amazing. I think we probably could talk for a lot longer. Yeah, on many subjects, and that's just amazing.
Yes.
Thank you again, and Jeanie, are you ready?
I'm ready. We are.
We are.
Oh, wow.